I'm Chef Asata with Georgia Organics, and we are living La Vida Okra for National Farm to School Month. Join me and some of my okra-loving friends as we share our okra stories and favorite okra recipes.
Hello, my name is Terri Carter, and I am an employee of the University of Georgia's Cobb County Cooperative Extension Office in the Family and Consumer Science Department. So most of my work that I do involves cooking and also gardening. I'm going to be sharing with you today some history about okra, but I want to talk about something called a hoe cake. Back in the day when our ancestors were enslaved, they would be working in the fields. Now, you have to understand that enslaved African Americans didn't have a lot of access to food. Most of the food that they ate would be food that they grew in their own subsistence garden, or they hunted, or they fished. So basically, they were given, in most cases, rations of cornmeal, which is basically corn that has been dried and ground up, and then they will be given basically pork fat. So that's not a lot, I know, to survive on. Pretty tough, huh? But they made it work. So, there's a tool called a hoe, and if you are a gardener, you use this tool all the time, and it is flat. They made what they call hoe cakes. And basically, if they were working in the fields, they would have their tool, the hoe, and they would clean this hoe off, and they would take some of that pork fat that had been melted down, and they would rub it on there after it's cleaned off, and then they would take that same pork fat and they would take that cornmeal, and if they had okra, they would take pieces of okra and they would chop that okra up and put it in there. You only have two ingredients here, so anything that you can add is going to make that taste a lot better. African Americans had an affiliation with okra. Okra came from the old world, meeting Africa. So they brought this tradition of cooking with okra with them when they were brought over on the slave ships. They saved seeds from okra and started to grow their own okra. So it is very historical. It is part of our African American history, growing it, using it in all different kinds of dishes. And I guess the best way to describe what a hoe cake is basically it's cornbread. It is fried cornbread. And when I was growing up as a little girl, my grandmother, whenever she wanted to make cornbread really quick, we would have these things called hoe cake. She would take cornmeal mix and some buttermilk and some eggs, mix that up. And if you wanted to put other things in there like corn or okra or whatever you wanted to add to it. So I hope you guys will try some of these recipes. And these hoe cakes are delicious. And no, we don't cook them over the fire anymore. But now we just cook them in a good old iron skillet. That's just as good. So I hope you've enjoyed this history, and I hope you'll go and make some of these yourself. Thanks so much.
Okay, let's make okra fritters. We're going to start with 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of cornmeal, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt, in a separate bowl. We're going to combine our 2 eggs with some water, a cup of water, and we'll just whisk that together. Next, we'll sprinkle a little salt over our onions and our okra. We're just going to stir that together. Let's add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients to make the batter. Little pepper. Stir in the onions and the okra. once your oil is hot, just want to put spoonfuls of batter, flatten them out a little bit. I'm going to fry them until they're crispy on both sides. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out these links and resources and keep living La Vida Okra. Hey, B.